I uncovered every secret from the last 30 years.
And I have given all the proofs of who was involved with Diddy. I have presented the videotape of Diddy's parties as evidence. Now no one can save Diddy and the other celebs. Jay-Z, all of them were Diddy's handlers. After watching the rest of the documentary, you'll understand everything.
The internet didn't just wake up today. It completely malfunctioned the moment 50 Cent dropped part 3 of his documentary, exposing what he calls Diddy and Jay-Z's hidden empire. Timelines froze, blogs crashed, and the comment sections turned into digital battlegrounds with fans screaming, "There's nitrogen monoxide, way this is real." Meanwhile, 50 sat back like a chaos emperor watching the world burn. Because this documentary wasn't mild tea, it was boiling oil poured straight onto the music industry's polished marble floor. People were clutching pearls, wigs, and imaginary Bibles trying to process what they had just watched. What sent the internet into emotional cardiac arrest wasn't just the content, it was the tone. 50 didn't whisper hints or dance around rumors. He exposed names, dates, alliances, and powerful secrets with the confidence of someone who double-checked every receipt twice. Fans compared this doc to a Marvel villain origin story mixed with a Zeus reunion fight, sprinkled with political thriller tension. Diddy supporters panicked, Jay-Z fans argued. Conspiracy theorists celebrated, and the neutral crowd simply watched the chaos unfold with popcorn the size of their heads. But then came the moment that made the world stop breathing. A segment in the documentary showing a blurred-out figure delivering testimony so explosive, so unfiltered, so industry-shaking that people genuinely believed the documentary might get pulled from streaming platforms within hours. TikTok detectives immediately began enhancing audio, zooming in on silhouettes, and cross-referencing old interviews trying to guess who the mystery insider was. And just as the episode ended, a final title card appeared, one sentence that sent shockwaves across the planet. The chaos surrounding Part 3 didn't begin when the documentary dropped. It began months earlier, when whispers about industry secrets started leaking through corners of hip-hop. Twitter like water creeping under a locked door. Fans noticed 50 posting cryptic messages, speaking in sly emojis, and laughing at things nobody else understood. Every time he uploaded a shady caption or left a suspicious like under a post, the internet felt tremors, unsure whether he was trolling, plotting, or preparing to detonate something monumental. People thought it was just typical banter, but they didn't realize he was loading ammunition for the biggest. Exposed the industry had seen in years, things. Escalated the moment a production assistant for a major streaming company accidentally posted a behind-the-scenes photo showing a blurred timeline board labeled Part 3, Internal Power Structure. That screenshot was on feeds for exactly 7 minutes before it vanished. But 7 minutes was enough for the internet to grab, crop, zoom, and analyze it like scientists studying alien DNA. Fans swore they saw names hidden under black tape. Others claimed they recognized the layout style from previous investigative docs. Some even tried decoding pixel patterns to reveal redacted words. Suddenly, everyone believed 50 wasn't just making content. He was making history. When the first teaser officially dropped, the music world went into alert mode. The voiceover was gritty and ominous, hinting at a network of influence shaped by money, relationships, and backdoor deals. People instantly began pointing fingers, connecting dots that may or may not have existed, and building theories thicker than a Marvel Phase 5 storyline. What shook fans most was the line promising voices from inside the circle, suggesting this wasn't just commentary, this was testimony. Real people, real experiences, real consequences, and real fear from the ones who never expected the curtains to get pulled back, but the storm didn't truly erupt until a leak from someone close to production surfaced. The anonymous source claimed Part 3 would reveal patterns repeated over decades, sending shockwaves through hip-hop and business audiences alike. The internet tore into that phrase like wild animals, debating whether it referred to alliances, rivalries, controlling interests, or something far darker. Meanwhile, blogs scrambled to publish think pieces with titles like "What is 50 planning?" and "Is the industry ready for this?" Spoiler alert, It absolutely wasn't. Then, hours before release, a cryptic message appeared on an anonymous forum. The one who speaks in part 3 doesn't just know the story, they lived it. That teaser alone sent timelines into meltdown. People stayed up refreshing their screens like they were waiting on a celebrity custody verdict. TikTok creators rehearsed reaction videos before even seeing the content. Reddit threads prepared timestamp breakdowns in advance. Everyone was ready, or so they thought, for what was coming. The first few minutes of part 3 set the tone. Dark lighting, tense music, and a narrator teasing that the most influential stories are the ones you're not supposed to hear. Fans felt chills ripple across their skin as images of old performances, studio photos, contract rooms, and exclusive events flashed across the screen. The montage hinted at a world built not just by talent, but by leverage, negotiation, loyalty, silence, and fear. And woven between the visuals were sound bites, quick, sharp, incomplete, that suggested the existence of a hidden network shaping careers and shutting down anyone who dared peek behind the curtain. The documentary then shifted into interviews with journalists, insiders, and former associates speaking carefully, almost nervously. They referenced movements, quiet agreements, and strategic relationships that had shaped the entire industry. Each voice seemed terrified to say too much, yet desperate to finally be heard. Viewers watched with their mouths open, absorbing every syllable like forbidden knowledge. And then the bomb dropped, footage of a blurred-out figure, preparing to expose the deeper structure behind the empire that fans idolized without understanding its foundation. Meanwhile, outside the documentary, social media was spiraling. And accounts argued over what each clue meant. Critics accused 50 of stirring drama for entertainment. Supporters insisted he was revealing truths others were scared to touch. Industry-adjacent influencers began telling their own partial stories, hinting they'd seen things too. Every platform became a digital volcano, spitting out theories, accusations, and emotional eruptions. Fueled by the documentary's promise of a bigger secret still hiding behind the edit dot as the episode continued unveiling the tangled power web. Viewers noticed how carefully every segment was crafted. The tone wasn't reckless. It was deliberate. Each hint connected to another. Each reveal felt like lifting a brick from a wall that had stood untouched for decades. And by the time the episode reached its midpoint, even the loudest skeptics were silent, realizing they weren't just watching entertainment, they were watching a revelation. Then came the detail that nearly broke the internet. A short clip showing a private meeting years ago. Blurred faces, muffled audio, and one chilling on-screen caption. This moment changed everything. The internet froze. People screamed. Fans hit rewind so many times that streaming platforms reportedly saw a spike in repeated playback. And just when viewers thought the shock had peaked, the documentary cut to a black screen with one final haunting message. This was only the beginning. The foundation is far deeper. Part 3 ended there, leaving fans shaking, confused, electrified, and desperate for answers. And then the world learned the real twist. The moment part 3 ended with that ominous message, the internet behaved like someone unplugged reality and plugged in pure chaos. Comment sections exploded into digital riots, with fans typing full essays, conspiracy threads, and emotional breakdowns faster than their fingers could keep up. People weren't just shocked, they were spiraling. Entire timelines turned into a cinematic disaster zone where every tweet felt like a live reaction, cam from someone witnessing a scandal unravel in real time. And while 50 laughed in the comments like a supervillain enjoying the panic he created, the rest of the industry scrambled to get ahead of whatever they feared. Part 4 might reveal. Celebrities began reacting instantly. Because nothing spreads faster than panic among people who think they might be mentioned next. Rappers dropped vague subliminals. Singers posted praying hands emojis with no explanation. Retired executives suddenly went live talking about protecting legacies. Even influencers who had no business being involved posted dramatic eye emojis just to ride the wave. The energy felt like a Zeus reunion where everyone denied everything while secretly hoping the camera didn't cut to their mess. Fans began connecting celebrity reactions to specific scenes. creating theories so wild they could have been Marvel timelines. Meanwhile, Diddy supporters and Jay-Z fans clashed online like warring Twitter factions ready to throw hands over interpretations. Some insisted the documentary exaggerated everything. Others argued 50 was finally exposing long-buried truths the industry protected for decades. A few even accused streaming platforms of trying to slow down the doc because it buffered suspiciously at the juiciest parts. TikTok detectives posted frame-by-frame breakdowns, while YouTubers uploaded hour-long analysis videos claiming they cracked the mystery behind the blurred-out figure. None of their theories matched, which only made the chaos funnier and louder. Then came the contradictions, the internet's favorite fuel source. Old interviews resurfaced. Archived clips contradicted recent statements. Photos from industry events suddenly looked suspicious to fans who never thought twice about them before. Others believed a shadow in the corner hinted at a second insider. TikTok users slowed footage down to 0.25x speed, analyzing every frame like they were decoding messages from the government. Meanwhile, the industry showed signs of panic. Publicists began releasing polished statements about artistic integrity and misleading narratives. Labels subtly distanced themselves from old partnerships. Even event organizers quietly removed old photos from their websites. The silence from Diddy's camp and Jay-Z's camp only fueled the speculation. Their lack of response was treated as confirmation. Denial, guilt, innocence, strategy, and fear all at once, depending on which fandom you belong to. And then came the leak that nearly broke the internet. A whistleblower account claimed the person behind the blurred silhouette wasn't just an insider. They were once part of the inner circle. Someone with knowledge deeper than contracts and collaborations. Someone who witnessed discussions, strategies, and decisions that shaped careers and crushed opportunities. The account hinted that the empire wasn't built through talent alone, but through alliances forged in shadows. Suddenly, the documentary wasn't just entertainment. It was a threat to reputations and legacies. When fans returned to rewatch Part 3 with this perspective, everything felt darker. Little pauses in interviews suddenly seemed meaningful. Camera cuts felt intentional. Music choices felt symbolic. That private meeting clip, reinterpreted as a major turning point. The blurred silhouette, seen as someone holding entire chapters of the industry's hidden history. Every second now felt like a clue pointing toward an empire built on power, protection, and strategic silence. And then the twist that sent shockwaves through every platform, streaming notifications revealed. The aftermath of Part 3 hit the industry like a silent bomb. Nothing exploded immediately, but everything began shaking beneath the surface, trembling with unspoken fear and anticipatory dread. Artists who previously joked about industry politics suddenly fell completely silent online. Executives who never posted a day in their lives began uploading motivational quotes, like they were trying to spiritually cleanse their timelines. The documentary had peeled back a layer that many believed was untouchable, and once exposed, there was no going back. Even fans felt the shift, describing a strange tension in the air every time they opened social media. Like they were watching the prelude to something catastrophic. Behind the scenes, people began making calls, long calls, whispered calls, damage control calls loaded with fear. Managers reached out to PR teams preparing contingency statements. Lawyers quietly reviewed contracts from decades ago. Former collaborators messaged each other asking, "Did you see Part 3? Or do you think he knows?" Entire teams gathered in emergency meetings trying to predict what Part 4 might uncover. There was a sense of collective panic, not because of what had been shown, but because of what hadn't yet been shown. Everyone knew the blurred-out insider wasn't the end. They were the beginning. Fans, meanwhile, entered a new level of obsession. They created forums dedicated entirely to decoding the hidden empire referenced in the documentary. They mapped career trajectories, revisited old award speeches, analyzed handshake patterns, and studied archived collaborations like historians piecing together evidence of an ancient kingdom. Some fans claimed the hidden empire was built on power through influence. Others insisted it was built on silence through fear. The theories became so complex they resembled investigative research projects more than casual online discussions. The documentary had turned viewers into amateur detectives on a mission, but the emotional fallout didn't end with speculation. Longtime supporters of the artists involved began expressing heartbreak, confusion, and nostalgia for the simpler days when the stories were just about music, not power. People posted emotional threads reminiscing about classic albums, old tours, and iconic collaborations that now looked different in hindsight. What once felt inspiring now felt layered, heavy, and complicated. The documentary forced fans to question whether the art they loved was shaped purely by talent or influenced by an empire operating behind the scenes with invisible hands. Then came the shockwave that sent everything into deeper chaos. A disgruntled industry figure, someone who hadn't been relevant in years, posted a series of cryptic messages. They didn't name names, but they didn't need to. The tone alone was enough to insinuate they knew things the public didn't, things that would change how you see everything. People begged for more details, but the person deleted the posts within minutes. Screenshots circulated instantly, making the silence afterward feel even louder. It added another layer of tension to an already unstable situation. Meanwhile, producers close to the documentary began dropping subtle hints that Part 4 would not only expose the architect of the empire, but also detail how the empire operated, the strategies, the alliances, the favors exchanged, and the people sacrificed along the way. Fans felt chills reading those hints, unsure whether they were excited, terrified, or both. If Part 3 cracked open the door, Part 4 threatened to rip it off the hinges. Each new hint made the industry seem less like a creative space and more like a complex board game, where every piece moved with intention. The emotional impact grew heavier when artists not directly involved began weighing in. Some admitted they were scared for the future of the industry. Others praised the documentary for shedding light on long unspoken truths. A few hinted they experienced similar situations but were too afraid to speak up. The collective vulnerability stirred fans emotionally, making the documentary feel less like storytelling and more like a long overdue confrontation with uncomfortable realities. It was no longer just 50 versus the empire. It was the entire industry facing its own reflection. Then the internet found something nobody expected. An old interview clip featuring a now retired executive discussing the latter, a term eerily similar to what the documentary described as the hidden empire structure. The executive mentioned how not everyone was allowed to climb it, and how some people were placed rather than earned. The clip went viral instantly, resurfacing debates about favoritism, blacklisting, and opportunity manipulation. Fans began connecting this clip to specific artists' rises and falls, creating timelines that painted the empire as an active force shaping careers from the shadows. But the true turning point came when the blurred-out insider resurfaced, not in the documentary, but indirectly through someone claiming to know their identity. This anonymous whistleblower hinted that the insider wasn't a minor player, but someone deeply rooted in the foundation of the empire. Someone who had been present for deals, disputes, strategies, and conflicts that shaped decades of music history. The whistleblower claimed the insider had kept receipts for years, waiting for the right moment to expose it all. The internet broke under the weight of speculation. Finally, hours before midnight, a trailer for Part 4 dropped. A dark screen. A single voice saying, "It wasn't just an empire. It was an agreement." A montage of blurred documents, boardrooms, studio sessions, and redacted contracts flashed across the screen. Dramatic narration filled the silence. Decisions were made. People were chosen. Careers were altered. And one person controlled the chain. Fans screamed, paused, rewound, analyzed every frame. Some swore they spotted clues in the shadows. Others insisted they heard familiar tones in the background audio. And then, the final shot, a door opening, light pouring through, and a silhouette stepping forward. And if you made it through that level of industry chaos without dropping your phone, or questioning the entire foundation of hip-hop, congratulations! You officially have the stamina of a documentary warrior. Because what we just witnessed wasn't a simple expose. It was a full demolition of secrecy, power, alliances, and shadow moves the industry hoped would never see the light of day. But before you run into the comments to argue, theorize, or accuse your favorite artist of being the architect, do me one favor. Smash that like button like it just leaked your contract without permission. Now drop a comment too. Not a cute, polite one, but a dramatic over-the-top reality reunion level comment that would make Zeus producers offer you a cast spot instantly. Tell me who you think the mastermind is. Tell me which part had your jaw on the floor. Tell me why you're side-eyeing your playlist now. And most importantly, tell me whether you're emotionally prepared for part 4, because judging by the footage we've seen, the industry is absolutely not ready. And listen, if you're watching this without being subscribed, oh, sweetheart, fix that immediately. Hit that subscribe button like you're slamming a courtroom table during an objection scene in a Shonda Rhimes finale. Because Fame Blueprint is dropping documentaries hotter than 50. Send subtweets, and you don't want to miss the next bomb that explodes across the timeline. Finally, ring that notification bell like it owes you rent money. Part 4 is coming. The architect is stepping forward. And when they speak, the entire industry might not survive the fallout. This is Fame Blueprint, where secrets crumble, power shakes, and the truth always wins. Shakes, and the truth always wins.